Hey guys, welcome back to SideTracked. It's been a hot minute since we've been in the studio. We had a whole summer break, plus like a month at the end of last semester, kind of, at least a few weeks. So during that time, a lot of stuff has happened, both in our personal lives and in the musical industry. So we're going to start off talking about kind of, what was going on with us this summer, what were we listening to, what concerts did we go to, things of that nature. And then we're going to move into, on the larger scale, what albums released this summer that we thought were particularly good. And it has been a really good summer for music. 2017 has been pretty great in that aspect. So, Leah, you want to start us off? Talk about what you did this summer?
Yeah, so as much as I hate to admit it, I really didn't get to listen to too many new albums. I mean, I listened to a bunch of new albums this summer, but not as many as I wanted to while I was on my break. I started working at this country club that only plays classic rock all the time, and listening to Piano Man over and over and over again was not how I wanted to, musically spend my summer. But I'd listen to a couple new albums and stuff that we're going to talk about later. But I also only was able to go to one concert this summer, which kills me. But
Yeah.
Me and some friends took a trip to Colorado, and we got to see Portugal the Man play live at Red Rocks, and that was really awesome.
That sounds super dope.
They opened with a Pink Floyd cover, and then
Oh,
they played
man.
some Metallica, and I seriously started crying right there. I was like, this is the best moment of my life.
That's pretty sweet, though,
It was
Portugal the
awesome.
Man. And that was the day they dropped their new album, right? I
Woodstock,
was talking to
correct.
Brad earlier. That's really cool.
It was.
I love
it was
like seeing
awesome.
artists around the time of those new
Mhm.
releases because like they're like not tired of the stuff
Yeah.
yet, and I don't know. And then you're not tired of
And
it
Feel
either.
It Still wasn't overplayed yet.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, for sure. So for concerts for me, I think I only went to one. I went to Glass Animals.
I
And-
seriously don't even want to talk about it.
Well, it's part of the segment, so you're gonna have to deal. And it was fantastic.
Of course it was.
I'm sorry that you got to spend your week in London. I'm sure that was miserable.
It was. Actually, but Glass Animals, I mean, I'm so jealous you got to see them because they're such a good band. But anyways, tell us about it because I want to know.
They played, they played just about every track off of How to Be a Human Being. And they also played, my favorite thing they do is they play Love Lockdown, the Kanye song, during their sets. And that is like, their cover of that song, I don't know what it is just fantastic. Also, they had a giant disco ball pineapple that came down, started glowing. It was lit.
Can
It
we
was
talk
awesome.
about how it's been banned for every place they play at? They ban pineapples. You're not allowed to bring pineapples into the venue. And it's like a big deal beforehand because everyone's like, I'm going to sneak a pineapple in, but no one can ever do it. It's really funny.
Do they have like a bouncer, like the guy with the scanners checking for your keys and stuff, and then he's just got a pineapple
There's a
scanner?
pineapple guy.
So yeah, that was, and then I guess technically is it still summer? Fall hasn't started yet, right?
Fall has started.
Fall
last
has
weekend.
started. Well, dang it, I went to a concert last night. I guess that doesn't count.
Doesn't count, can't.
So yeah, that was it for me, concert-wise. What were you listening to outside of Piano Man on repeat at work?
Well, I have 3 specific albums.
Yeah, but like I mean, outside of the new releases of
Oh,
2017, was there anything that like you rediscovered your
Oh,
favorite
man.
song from sophomore
I
year?
forgot. No. I did something weird this summer, guys. I forgot about it. I started listening to avant-garde music, like
Okay.
weird avant-garde. I discovered this singer. Her name is Diamond Galas, and she does her like in one of her albums. The opening song is just her like screaming, going ah into the mic, and I loved it. Like I would listen to it downstairs. My mom thought that I was listening to like horror soundtrack. She's like, what are you even listening to down there? I was like, no, it's this artist who's like, she's an avant-garde artist, and she just does the weirdest crap possible. But she talks about how her husband like cheated on her with another man and everything, and it was just the coolest album. I can't remember what it's called, but she's got like blood on her face on the cover. It's cool.
Okay. All right, I can mess with that. That sounds
yeah, it
good.
was neat.
I rediscovered my love of the format this summer. I
Nice.
haven't listened to them. My boy Nate Roos,
Mhm.
his first band, hadn't listened to them since like that. Interventions and Lullabies is like one of the like foundational records of like my high school experience, and then I like didn't listen to them at all since I started like college. And
Mhm.
then man, I was driving the other day. I threw You Know Me on, and I was like almost about to cry. It's just like I got this wave of emotion back on
awesome.
me.
I did that recently with Forever the Sickest Kids, which is like an embarrassing band to say that you were super in love with. But I mean, there were 4 boys in it whenever I listened to it, so I was like, all right, whatever. But I listened to Underdog Alma Mater like on repeat a couple days in a row because it's like a nostalgic kind of thing. You're like, all right, let me go back to middle school and early years of high school. But
For sure.
embarrassing, but important.
Embarrassing but important. I like that. So I think that's about it for me. Concerts, music I listen to. I can't think of anything else. So let's jump into our favorite records that released since we've taken our break.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
let's start. Leah, you go first.
So my first one is Sacred Hearts Club by Foster the People. I was a really big fan of Supermodel, which is, I'm pretty sure it's the album right before this one.
Yeah.
Because I have it on vinyl and I really like the album a lot. But other than Supermodel, I never got into Foster the People too much. I like Torches. I mean, everyone likes Torches. But it wasn't something I like continuously jammed to. But when this came out, I was like, they had dropped, 3 singles, I think, beforehand. One of them, which was Sit Next to Me, which is a really cool song. Have you listened to it? I love that song. It's so cool. I listen to it every time I go to work. But they still listened to a couple of the singles, and I was like, oh, okay, like I can probably get into this. And then I like really started liking the singles, so I listened to the rest of the album, and I was a huge fan of it. I have heard that it's not, I don't think critics are giving it very good reviews, and it's not doing too well in that aspect, but I personally like it, so I thought it was important to talk about. Yeah, that's all I got for it.
So I want to point out that released July 21st, and I don't know if you've noticed, but there are 3 albums on our list that released that
the
same
same
day.
day.
It's so weird. I don't know what was so like crazy about July 21st,
July
but everyone
21st.
was like, let's
do it.
throw stuff. So my first pick is the Mountain Goats, wearing the shirt from this tour. But their album Goths came out like 19th, so like a little over a week after my birthday. And it's a pretty lit birthday present, let me tell you. John Darnielle basically wrote this for me. But the record's like an exploration of like goth culture and like people, like the music and the dress and the like movement too. And so and the coolest thing about it, I think, is that the Mountain Goats is traditionally a singer-songwriter project that is very guitar-driven. It's John Darnielle most of the time with an acoustic guitar just jamming. But there is not a single guitar riff on this entire record. It's like a lot of synths, a lot of piano. There's some like really jazzy horns on it, like saxophone. And it's super good. And also lyrically, it's fantastic. Like there's a song it's called Shelved, and it's about like a record label saying you can't make this kind of music anymore. You need to move on. And the band makes a record they're not into, and it's bad, so it gets put on the shelf, and the band kind of dies. And so I don't know. There's just some beautiful, beautiful lyrics on this thing.
Yeah.
All right, Leah, your number 2?
My number 2 is Lust for Life by Lana Del Rey. I don't remember if you told me, you're a fan, right?
I really like Ultraviolence.
Okay.
That's like the only record of hers that I've listened to like all the way through.
Okay. I was never a huge, not that I didn't like her music, but it was never something that I was like, oh man, guess what? Like when this dropped, I wasn't like, I gotta listen to it. But
Sure.
it popped up on my Spotify, and I was like, all right, why not? I'll give it a chance, because it had some ASAP features and stuff in it. And also, this album has a song with Stevie Nicks. And
Really?
if you know me like extremely well, then you know that I love Fleetwood Mac and I love Stevie Nicks. But I think that a lot of her music reflects Fleetwood Mac's style, and I think that it's pretty iconic and important that she has Stevie Nicks on this album. But I mean, ASAP, there's a Weekend feature on there, and then or the Weekend, whatever, and then yeah, I just really liked it. I was surprised that I liked it, but I also think my two favorite songs on the album were Summer Bummer and Beautiful People, Beautiful Problems. But yeah, it was a nice discovery for me, because then I listened to other Lana stuff,
Sure.
and I was like, yeah, this is good stuff.
Another July 21st record,
Another
too.
July 21st.
All right, so my next pick, I don't actually know if I have the right order on these. Yeah, Flower Boy. So my boy Tyler, the Creator, dropped an album on July 21st. and it's his like most like it's definitely I think his most well-produced record, and he does all of his own production, which I think is just mind-blowing. That he's not only a very talented rapper, his lyrics on this are great, like he's dropping some bars, and his production is just insane. It's very jazzy, very well put together, and the whole thing like. So Tyler in the past has had some very like immature like lyrics about like some pretty horrible things, like lots of like abuse and violence and things. This record really moves on to a lot more mature, like introspective kind of stuff, and so that's a huge push for me. And also, look at that cover. We're gonna be talking about that later. All right, Leah, your number 3?
My number 3 is Woodstock, and I'm going to be talking about Portugal the Man a lot today. I didn't realize that I was going to be doing that much, but this is the album that dropped the day that I saw them live. It's got Feel It Still on it, which, I mean, everyone has been jamming to all summer. There's some covers of that, but there's also like I wouldn't say a story, but they took, Portugal the Man has historically been producing. They're producers. They make music. I think the longest they had been without making an album was like 2 years, and they waited 4 years to drop this one. They didn't wait 4 years. It took them 4 years to produce this and to drop it and stuff. So that was kind of a big deal. So when this did drop, it was like, oh man, finally another Portugal album. But I just think it's a really solid album. I really enjoy listening to it. My favorite song on it is Noise Pollution, which is one of the singles that they had dropped beforehand, before the album was actually released. But yeah, I just really dig the band, and I love this album. I was really excited when it dropped.
Sure. So my number 3 is like kind of a cop-out because it's not necessarily like a number 3, but there's a lot of projects that are upcoming that I wanted to talk about that have like released singles that have got me hyped, and so I've kind of been jamming to those almost more than some of the full records that have dropped lately. So I gotta give a shout out to my girl Julian Baker. October 28th, she's gonna be dropping another record, Turn Out the Lights, and she's released the first single. It's called Funeral Pyre, and she actually released it. She did an Audio Tree live set, and so she played like 3 songs and did an interview. And one of the songs that she played, actually no, it was an NPR Tiny Desk concert. That's what it was. And one of the songs she was like, I'm gonna call this one Sad Song Number 11 because I don't have a title for it yet. And then it ended up being Funeral Pyre. So I thought that was really cool. And then Appointments actually just dropped today, and I haven't gotten a chance to listen to it, but I thought that was kind of worth mentioning. And then Front Bottoms. Emo band, love them. They've got 2 songs that came out for this new record. Really not high on Raining. I know Brad really likes it, but Vacation Town, that's my jam. So kind of wanted to give a shout out to maybe some upcoming stuff, like closing out the summer, starting into fall. So I think that about wraps up this segment, our summer recap.
When we come back, we're going to be talking about album art, and that's a really cool thing because we have yet to do that. We haven't really talked about album art too much, so.
Excited to broaden our horizons.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. We're now going to talk about, this is our first time doing this, album covers that we really liked. So we had our other producer, Brad, kind of give us a category of album arts for us to pick our favorites that fit that theme. And then we each picked 3, and we're going to kind of dive into why we like those records, specifically the art, not so much the music side of things. So without further ado, Leah, I believe yours is first.
Yeah, so the theme that we had to go with this week was albums with no text on them. And my first one is Portugal the Man. Satanic Satanist, and I've already kind of talked about Portugal the Man a lot today, but I think it's embarrassing but important. So this album, like, I really like the music itself, but this album cover, like, I don't know, it's vibrant colors, like, it's way cool. Fun fact about this album also is that there is a completely acoustic version of this album, and the album cover is black and white, and it's called The Majestic Majesty. So, and I always go back and forth on which one I like more. Probably the acoustic one, but I like the colors in this one.
Yeah,
so.
The colors are sweet, and they've got that like watercolory almost, like washed out kind of look to them.
And they have like that theme with all of their art, all of their album art and stuff. It's like those creepy faces that kind of make you feel uneasy, but at the same time you're like, that is so cool. Look at that, 3 eyes. Yeah, man.
All right, so my first record is the brand new album that just dropped, Science Fiction. And this is actually So I had a really, really tough time, I'll be honest, choosing between this or The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me, because that album is fantastic and that art is great. But I really like this because there's kind of a cool story to it where this is actually, I don't know if it is the photo or if it's based on the photo by this Swedish art photographer who basically framed a photo the same way of these women, making it look like they were jumping out of this balcony about to hit the ground. And so, I don't know, I just really dig this. And I dig this record. Me and Brad kind of talked about this the other night. It's a pretty sick one. So.
Looks like she's about to break her leg, so I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
like it. I don't like it. Okay, so my second album is an album that, I'll be honest, I've only listened to it once. Not even all the way through either, because the first time I'd seen this album was today, because I was talking to one of my friends about the category that we were talking about, album covers without art or without text on them, and he said, "Oh man, you have to look at this Flying Lotus album. It's the art is really sick on it." And he's an artist, so I was like, "Yeah, man, I gotta see it if you think it's cool." And when I was listening to the first couple of songs on it, I was like, "Oh man, this album cover, like, completely, it's so, like, it hits the nail on the head with a hammer." I mean, it just does it. Like, I absolutely loved it, so it's cool.
I actually really like that record too, and Flying Lotus has a lot of features on a lot of other, he's like a fantastic producer. He's done some work with Kendrick Lamar, I know. I'm sure there's plenty of other people. I'm just like hardcore blanking on them right now. But
it's
yeah,
like
that record.
Listening to it, it's like a jazzy rap album.
Yeah.
It's like, this is freaking sick.
Yeah, and that art is pretty sweet too. All right, so my number 2 is an album I've brought up already today, Flower Boy by Tyler the Creator. God, I love that art. First of all, like the sunsetty like background, and then also like the bees. I still don't know what the deal with the bees is. I mean, flowers obviously, but like, I don't know. I like how there's like this like element of like I'm trying to figure out what's going on. The car with the suicide doors up back here in the background, because he talks about his cars as a form of like escape from like his problems and stuff. As well as he did his clothing line dropped some shoes, a collaboration with Converse, based on this. Like, it's got the sunflower print on the insides and it's got the bee on the back. Super sweet shoes. Wanted to buy one. They were sold out. It was sad. But yeah, love the art on this thing.
I think we were talking about earlier with his music, kind of a metamorphosis kind of thing about him growing and changing. And I mean, this compared to my favorite Tyler album is Goblin, and this compared
dude, I'm a wolf.
Well, this like compared to that album cover is like, this shows a different side of him, and it's just so different that like the art's cool, but also like the idea behind the changing is cool.
Yeah, for sure. All right, your number 3?
So my last one I'm going to be talking about is The Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. I mean, besides the fact that this is like way badass and this is just an iconic sign, like you see this and you don't think of, what is it, light refraction, you think of Pink Floyd, like I do anyways. I don't know about anyone else, but when I was in high school, I took a physics class online, and we were supposed to do a discussion board over, I'm pretty sure this is light refraction, right? That's what this is?
Yes.
Yeah, so we were supposed to talk about that, and I had seen in my book something that was kind of like this, and I was like, no man, that's Pink Floyd. So I like posted a picture in the discussion board about Pink Floyd, and I was like, I like Pink Floyd, so I guess I like this chapter. So yeah, that's my, also this album's like ridiculously amazing, so. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and it's like so iconic, like you were saying. Like,
people get this tattooed on themselves.
Yeah, you can't see like a prism anymore without thinking.
Yeah.
Like, it's fundamentally changed, like the way we look at that science thing, I guess. All right, so my number 3, Bright Eyes. I'm wide awake, it's morning. This was my phone background for like 4 years or something, like a ridiculously long time. And I love because it's like, it's drawn, but it almost looks like stitched, if that makes sense. It's almost like,
embroidered, is that the name? Or what?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking like Chowder, that cartoon where they have like it's like animated, it's like drawn, but they have like the cloth. I don't know.
You say chowder, and I think of thick soup. I'm hungry, guys.
But it really fits with like because to me, like, you know, you draw something like that's the way that you see that thing. Like that's your, and so the way that he's looking at this city as being like this, like not this kind of like distorted, almost like DIY, like lo-fi version of things. And then the record itself is kind of unpolished. It's very, it has that sort of like lo-fi sound to it. And it's incredibly personal. Like Connor Oberst, the singer he's talking about on, what's the name of that? Poison Oak. He's talking about one of his friends who died of like a heroin overdose. And so it's an incredibly personal record, and I just feel like this, so, and then the sun being this weird, evil black hole dominating everything.
It looks like a tomato.
I don't know. I think it's genius. But yeah, that's our discussion of album art. We might pick a different category, run this back some point. But yeah, I think that's the end.
That's all we got for this week,
That's
guys.
a wrap. Episode 1, Season 2. It's been a hot minute, but I'm super glad to be back. We'll see y'all next time.